Good morning, professors and fellow peers. I'm Junjie, this is Sean, Edmund, Lei Ting, and Zhe Yong. For our project, our group aims to optimize the usage of myISIS platform for module mapping. There will be three main segments for our presentation today: introduction, survey, and proposed solution. I'll share more of the introduction of our project motivation, research findings, and highlight two out of the three main problems that users have faced. I'm sure some of us here have heard of acronyms such as SAP and NUS, or have even been on such programs before. But before embarking on all trips, there must be some form of planning, and for students, module mapping is one of them. So this is John. John is from the Faculty of Engineering ISE. He wants to go on SAP, but first he needs to decide on the partner university, and then the modules to take, which must then adhere to his course graduation criteria. Doing all this research by himself, imagine the number of permutations there is to consider for him. What our group realizes that this process is tedious, and that current tools, myISIS, does not suffice to address the issue. Thus, we propose to redesign the web page, and for this, we have done some research on web design ergonomics. There are three key research findings that we have. On viewing and cognitive behaviors of user, we realize that we need to identify what our users are or are not satisfied in terms of color, alignment, size, or contrast of the web page. On cognitive fluency, we learned that humans sieve out information easily if layout is not visually complex, and that users prefer to use a web page that they instinctively know where everything is and the actions that are required to be taken. On cognitive variability, we learned that a transparent interface for users is important so that we are able to gather feedback from user, understand what the task is, as to ensure that the interface helps rather than hinder the user in the completion of their task. We then proceeded to analyze the module mapping process and identified three areas which needed improvement, mainly usability, information presentation, and functionality. Now let's take a look at the homepage of the myISIS platform. Many functions are available as shown in the image above. Then, let's take a look at the general education portion. Clearly, there is no chronological order of the steps to take for module mapping. This makes it not intuitive to first-time user and thus not user-friendly. Now let's take a look inside the module mapping search. This is the search bar to help look up on module offered at the partner university. We are able to filter for faculty and partner university here. After searching for a Faculty of Engineering, we will end up with the list shown here. However, even after filtering for faculty, we still get a long list and some irrelevant university. From the list, we are able to further filter for external organization ID, search name, and organization type. However, students are generally unfamiliar with these codes. Thus, these filters options are redundant. Now Sean will continue with functionality and introduce our survey findings.
So now we'll talk about the functionality of the module mapping system. Okay, so as you can see in the current design, the current module mapping system has all the basic functionalities so as to map the respective modules from the different faculties over to the partner universities. So actually it's quite detailed and a step-by-step guide can be found online. However, it may seem confusing to the first-time users because of the large influx of information. Okay, so now move on to the filtering functions. So for the filtering functions, the filtering options are not clear to the students. So as you can see in the slide, this is the screen which students will see when they want to find a partner university. And as you can see, there's an external organization ID and the organization types that are not recognized by majority of the students. So it's actually quite a problem. Okay, also, the filtering option for the students to narrow down the partner universities, they are actually quite complicated, and the students need to know the academic group number or the description of the faculty and the ID which I mentioned earlier, so as to actually find the name of the organization of the partner university. As you can see in the slides, there's some quite confusing symbols there, which they are quite complicated and it might affect the list filter. And hence the choice which the user is looking for is not actually filtered out. It will actually cause students to make mistakes and actually spend a longer time searching for the partner university. So now moving on to the sorting functions, as you can see in the slide here, the sorting function is actually quite hidden and it's not really explicitly shown, so it hinders students who are trying to sort out the filtered modules. Also, the order of the information of the partner universities presented can be sorted, but it's not easily visible. So as you can see, the personalized tab there in the diagram, it shows that the students can actually customize the grid after pressing personalize, but it's not very obvious, so it's actually quite hidden. I myself actually took quite a while to find the option. So users, like I said earlier, the users may find it difficult to organize and find their ideal university. Now, for our survey findings, our group actually conducted a survey to actually find out what issues NUS students face when they use the myISIS module mapping system. And we actually wanted to gather three important aspects: usability, functionality, information presentation on the web page. The results of our survey are highlighted functionality and design layout of the website to be main area of concerns. Okay, so we actually had a sampling plan. So we had a sample size of 40 students, and we are actually trying to ensure representativeness. So we actually stratify the data across different years of studies. This is because different years of studies may have different opinions on the portal, and therefore different years of, so this will provide feedback that is applicable to their needs. So this ensures we're actually catering to the large majority of NUS students. So this ultimately, our target audience is actually the students who are planning to go overseas onto partner universities, and who have actually already used the module mapping system. Now, the methodology which we carry out is actually a questionnaire format, and this helps to facilitate the minimization of time spent, and is convenient for students to complete on the go. We also ensure that all major faculties are well represented, and that the questionnaires were distributed at different faculties of NUS. So this will ensure us to consolidate all the results so as to propagate further discussion.
To ensure that our survey is applicable and relevant to the respondents, we validate it using the following criteria: phase validity, content validity, and construct validity. To show our appreciation to the respondents' time and effort, we incorporated the segment in the questionnaire to inform them about the aim of the survey. The aim is important to the students who strike resonance with the matter at hand, namely going for an exchange. At the end of the survey, a segment is provided to ask them to register for a summary of the result tabulator. This is solely on an opt-in basis to give the respondents the decision-making role. In order for the survey to meet the objectives set out, the questions are well represented and of a numerous type. This included the questions of behavioral anchored rating scale, BAS in short, which should encapsulate the essence of the rating given. The BAS question we included is as follows. Open-ended questions such as asking for any suggestions for improving the system allow respondents to provide responses that are not limited by the options and give their true opinion with regards to the issue discussed. The variation in questions help to gather the feedback on the improvement of the overall module mapping system. The content asked will also be varying from their views on the system and other aspects of it, thus making the survey relevant to those who have experience and knowledge about the system and gathering the views of those who are interested to go on an exchange program. The overarching purpose of this survey is definitely to create a much more convenient portal for the students to access. The benefits from the redevelopment of the portal comes about from the survey. We will take into consideration the feedback of the survey and put it into the design of the portal. Hence, this will ultimately benefit the prospective students when they utilize the module mapping system in the future. In the next segment, Lei Ting will provide an analysis of some of the key questions in the survey, and these questions will be the guides to our proposed solution.
A survey was conducted, and the results based on these key questions lay the basis for us to propose the improved solution. Firstly, to determine the satisfaction of the system, they were required to rate the user-friendliness of the current system for module mapping. As seen in the chart, close to half of the respondents reflected their dissatisfaction in the system. 44.4% of them indicated that they were dissatisfied with the current procedure, and 5.5% were highly dissatisfied. This implies that the system is not intuitive to users and there's a need for it to be improved to increase the amount of convenience and ease for users. Secondly, a question on the rating of the overall performance of the current module mapping system was also included in the survey. Looking at the chart, only 7.5% of 40 students gave a positive rating of the ease of navigation around the system. Although 37.5% gave a neutral rating of navigation not being a challenge, 20% gave a negative rating, stating navigation is difficult, and 30% stated navigation takes some effort. This supports our point that there is room for improvement for the current module mapping system in terms of usability and functionality. Lastly, to identify the area to work on, we asked our interviewee to rank 4 different aspects of the website according to how important the aspects were to them. From the graph, it can be seen that 50% of the respondents felt that information with regards to module mapping is the most important, followed by 30% for reliability of the system, and 20% for service support by faculty staff. As such, our design will focus on improving the information retrieve and reliability of the web page through the layout of information and changes in the advanced search function. With the information gathered from the survey, we aim to design a better web page which ensures better usability and functionality for the user.
Our group aims to improve the current design of the myISIS module mapping system to ensure better usability and functionality for the user. I will be presenting about these improvements in our proposed design by guiding you, our user, through the interface. Firstly, we have color coding. You can see that we have chosen light blue as the background. This hue has one of the shortest wavelengths in a visible spectrum, which makes it less straining for your eyes. This is especially helpful if you are using the system for prolonged periods. Blue is also less contrasting to most colors, and we have reduced the color variation on the interface, as high contrast would be distracting and equally straining. White and blue are used to strike a contrast balance that would still ensure discriminability through separation in wavelengths. Next up, we have improved usability. To address the problem of poor usability, we propose this layout of the Global Education tab, which shows a clear step-by-step and sequential guidance on the application for overseas programs. The use of arrowed shapes shows a clear-cut, chronological operational sequence for our interface so that you can intuitively know where to begin. For example, you start by planning your modules through the Module Mapping Search tab before applying to study in partner universities through the External Study application. Let's enter into the Module Mapping Search function, which is the focus of our project. In this tab, search criteria include the module code, module title, and program, as opposed to simply faculty and partner university in the current myISIS design. The addition of these search functions help you to easily sift out modules you plan to clear overseas. The module code and name search will allow you to filter out the partner universities with the module you want to clear. Of course, should you choose to leave any search criteria blank, you may do so. Hovering the mouse over the tiny arrow on the top right of the NUS faculty button shows this explicitly. By clicking the magnifying glass, we can explore advanced search functions. Let's look at possible NUS faculties to search from. We can see that the faculty code is an acronym of the faculty. For example, FOE stands for Faculty of Engineering. Compared to using external organization ID and organization type, faculty code is easily recognized by most NUS students, which quickens faculty search. Alternatively, should you be unfamiliar with the acronyms, you may search by descriptions. Let's try this search function out. As you can observe, the list of faculty codes have been narrowed down. In this guide, we will leave the faculty blank. I've heard that you wish to go to Hanyang University for summer school in July. We will type this into the search criteria. We will be choosing the summer-winter program instead of the student exchange program in normal semesters. Now that we have filled in what we need, we may fetch the mappings. This will churn out a list of modules based on the search criteria. The number of columns in the current web page sure causes a whole lot of cluttering as some are rather redundant. To omit this, the default layout excludes the unused columns, namely those for second module. Fret not, These columns can be added in through the grid customization or even further simplified if you deem certain default columns unnecessary. By reducing all this messy clutter, it is unlikely for you to be confused by an overload of information. We will not be changing anything here. Do you notice the little funnels beside the column headings? These are filter options for you to sort the columns through the different ways as shown. By default, it is sorted alphabetically by NUS faculty. Let's sort the NUS module code by A to Z 1 to 9. I'm sure you have noticed the red trolleys on the right. This is part of our cut function. Clicking this icon stores the module mappings that you would like to take note of into a cut, which facilitates convenient retrieval of information. We have taken into account conceptual compatibility so that when you choose to add into cut, the image of the trolley turns from red to green as a visual cue that the mapping has been added. A pop-up message also confirms this. Let's try this out, and we'll then view the cut. I hear you asking why we choose to include this cut function. That's a good question. Well, there are three theoretical spaces of memory in the human brain. Short-term sensory storage, one of the three, is veridical with a short time span of under a second. Information not processed will be lost, so a function is needed to aid students in storing the data for comparison. Considering this, we adopted the cut function from online shopping platforms to store the selected modules. You may also press the trash bin icon to remove the modules from the cut. That's the end of the usage guide. With our above mentioned improvements, we ensure that information is presented in a systematic manner and aligned with the cognitive processes of students. The future NUS students will not need to access, assess, and gather information in a disorganized manner with our improved interface that contains all the information neatly. In conclusion, we identified the primary considerations for the change in NUS myISIS module mapping portal. These considerations were generated based on our survey on 40 current NUS undergraduates. These considerations can be split into usability, functionality, and information presentation. Our proposed web page design aims to reduce the inconvenience caused during the process of mapping modules on the portal. This will greatly increase the efficiency of students' application. Thank you for listening and have a blessed day.